Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Jane Viana calling from Visa Place for our live session today. I hope you guys all doing okay, staying safe, and doing well. And today I have something very interesting and fun to share with you. Our website has just launched a very interesting new feature that we're all very hyped to talk about and share with you guys. It's going to be a wonderful tool for those who are perhaps on the early stages of their immigration process, or they want to know their chances, or what areas they need to improve in order to become competitive, and why not. And that's our CRS tool that would give you a assessment straight out from our website. So on this session today, I want to walk you through it and let you know how you can use it, how you can make it work for you. It's super intuitive. It's super easy to navigate. It makes it a lot easier to understand what's relevant, what kind of factors are involved, and so forth. So I'm going to be walking you through it today. We're going to be looking at it together. I'm going to share my screen with you and kind of do a simple assessment so you can see how it's done. And we'll go from there. Okay. Now, before I will be answering questions as well, like always. So if you have questions or if there's anything you want to talk about, anything that you want to know, feel free to type your question on the comment section below, and I'm going to get to them at the end. Okay. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about before we look at the CRS tool, and I'm gonna share the link with you guys so you can just check the description of this video. You should be able to find a link to go straight to the CRS um, calculation tool on our website. So that's visaplace.com. If you want to do that right now, open it up. I'll be showing you how to use it, but make sure that you can know where to find it as well. But before I do that, let's do a bit of a recap on what's Express Entry and how it works, because the CRS tool was designed to assess candidates against specific programs, right, that will lead to Canadian immigration. So before we get to the point calculation and how you can make the CRS tool work for you, it's important for us to know and to understand what's Express Entry, how it works, why those things are relevant, right? So any questions? So the main topic today is going to be Express Entry. Any questions regarding that, feel free to message, feel free to text, and we're going to getting into those things today. Okay. So basically, and again, I'm trying to simplify the whole process just to make it easier to understand. Basically, what we have in place right now, it's a point-based system, right? Express Entry is a tool, a system that the government implemented a couple of years ago to administer and manage the selection of skilled workers, right? So basically, the most popular skilled worker immigration programs have been comprised together under the Express Entry umbrella in order to facilitate the selection and the assessment of those candidates, right? So you still need to be eligible under one of the available programs. We're not going to be talking about eligibility today. We're going to be rather looking at how the Express Entry system works once you're already in the pool of candidates, right? So basically, the system would allocate a specific amount of points based on a few core factors, right? So most importantly, we have work experience, education, language ability, and age. Those are the four most important elements or factors that would be taken into consideration when assessing your profile. Of course, if you have Canadian work experience, or if you go into school in Canada, if you have Canadian family members, your family members, they are Canadians, citizens or Canadian PRs, you do get more points. If you have arranged employment, you get more points. But basically, the core, most fundamental factors would be education, work experience, language ability, and age. Okay. You're going to see that playing out whenever we get to the breakdown of points using the CRS calculator, which again, it was designed to make the process even easier for those who are looking to know, where do I stand in terms of points, right? So perfect. Once you join the pool of candidates, meaning once you're deemed to be eligible, you join the pool of candidates, the system would allocate those points for you. So it's something that it's done automatically. And then the selection would take place according to whoever is better ranked against other candidates in the pool. So it's a competitive system, right? That's why it's so important to know, where you stand and how you can improve your score, strategize on how to make your profile more competitive so you can have better chances of getting that invitation, right? So this is basically how Express Entry works. It's a very expedited process. People can get their PRs within 6 months after applying, right? So it's wonderful how Canada managed to have such a high-tech system in place, and really make the selection of those skilled workers um, easier. Now, talking about Canada and immigration and all of that, we know that this year has been a bit of a surprise for a lot of us, for countries in general, and wanted to share a couple of words regarding what's going on right now with Canadian immigration. I know that a lot of people are wondering, and we've been following the news. We want to know what's going on, and all of that. So, first of all, Canada is taking this whole pandemic health crisis very seriously. So, some measures, special measures, have been put in place. Now, that doesn't mean immigration has stopped whatsoever, right? Canada is a country that um, invites and select a lot of immigrants on a yearly basis. Our economy does rely on the immigration of skilled workers. So we do have immigration plans in place, and we have quotas that we need to meet on a yearly basis, right? So this is something that's not going to change. Is part of what Canada is, and our economy, as I said, really relies on that a lot. So while we're going through some, unprecedented times in terms of immigration, I want to let you guys know that immigration has not stopped. If you have a Canadian family member, you can still apply. Immigration is still going on. Applications are still being approved. Our firm is still very busy, like usual. So again, for those who are applying for immigration through family, or for those who are already in Canada, most importantly, like a lot of people are being invited. A lot of temporary residents in Canada are becoming PR through this time. So IRCC is still very much ongoing. Okay, it has not stopped. Now, we know that because Canada is still under a lockdown in terms of foreign nationals entering the country, in terms of people being selected from abroad, we have seen, the system slowing down a bit. Canada hasn't invited anyone from abroad from, over 3 months now. That's a long time. Like the express entry system has consistently invited people every 2 weeks for like several years now. So it's a program, it's a system that is very reliable and have been going on for, over 5 years now, since 2015. So just the system, right? The programs themselves, they've been, in place for a lot more than that. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we have received a lot of inquiries from clients saying, okay, the express entry is not inviting people from abroad. What do I do? When do I be able to get my process processed? And a lot of applications have been put on hold as well for now. My take on this is that, again, we do have quotas to meet on a yearly basis, and because of this temporary holdback, we do expect to see a huge amount of invitations being sent out once things go back to normal, right? So as a law firm, we are expecting to see a huge spike on the number of invitations, and that will certainly affect the CRS, right? Because it's a competitive system, the more invitations we have, the more spots available we have, the lower the CRS would be. The less invitations, the higher it gets. That's pretty much how it works. So because we do have a backlog being built, we know that eventually those invitations will be sent out, and it's very important for candidates, for people who are interested in immigrating, to be ready. Right, to have your profile up, to be in a pool of candidates, have the documentation in place, have your employment record letters done, English exam done, academic credentials assessment done, so you can be ready to receive that invitation once it comes. Summer is coming. Summer is usually a very busy time for Canadian immigration. A lot of people coming in. September's intake for students still ongoing. So a lot of international students are expected to come in for the September intake, and January next year, which we're already working towards. So if your plan is to come in as a student to study rather this year, or early next year, January or September next year, it's not too early to start, right? You want to make sure that you have enough time to have your permits and visas processed, your enrollment done, and everything else that needs to be put in place before you can actually enter Canada. Okay, so things are looking bright. Rather on the bright side, we do expect to see more normal intakes in terms of immigration coming up very, very soon. Today, we have a draw under the express entry system for provincial nomination programs, right? So individuals with nominations, they have been invited today, which is again another indication of how things are running very much, full force still. Tomorrow we expect to have another draw. So for those who are in Canada on work or temporary visas, be tuned, because we are going to get another round of invitations tomorrow, as usually we do every 2 weeks, twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month we get rounds of invitations. So lots going on. A lot of people being able to immigrate. For those who are outside, don't get discouraged. Like, get your applications ready, because eventually things would get back to normal. And you have to be ready. You have to be available in a pool of candidates, and most importantly, you have to know what would take you to actually go through and have your PR approved. So never too early to start. For those who are inquiring, I see lots of questions here regarding what to do and how to qualify and all of that. The first step, it's always to understand where you stand. So an assessment is very important, and that's why I'm going to walk you through the CRS today, so you can do your own self-assessment. For more personalized assessments or for specific advice, the best thing to do is to book a consultation, so we can look at your particular case and strategize with you on how to get to a point where your CRS is competitive enough, and you can be sure to get an invitation. Another amazing reason to use the CRS is just to be informed before your consultation. So for those who have already consultations booked or planning on booking a consultation soon, make sure to visit the website, go through the questions. I'm going to show you how intuitive and easy it is. You're going to be impressed. We're all very hyped about it here. So it's out for me as a consultant. It's so much better when I get to speak with a client, and they're familiar with the point system, and they know where they stand. We can get to the point a lot faster. So make sure to use the tool to do your self-assessment, and then bring your questions more narrowed down to the consultation, so we can get to the point and get you more precise advice in terms of what do I do now, how do I get there, and all those things. Okay, so before I get to your questions, and I am taking note of everything here, let's take a look at the CRS tool together. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen, so just give me 1 second here, and we'll go from there. Here we go. You should be able to see my screen now. All right. Yes, please confirm if you guys can see my screen, just to make sure everyone can see what I'm trying to show here. Okay, so this is our website. Again, lots of information you can find here. We put a lot of effort into providing you with like updates and valid information. So if you haven't visited our website yet, make sure to do, because you can find lots of info here that can be helpful. Not only like regarding legal content, but also tips about what's going on and how to work with what you have in terms of points, and insights on how Canadian immigration works. So make sure to visit if you haven't done that. So now let's get to the CRS tool. So this is the main page on our website. You come here on Canada Visas, and you're going to find it right here under Express Entry, the CRS calculator. You click here, and you're going to get to meet our friend Cris. So Cris is our bot who will be assisting you throughout the process, and his job is really to make this even easier for us. All you have to do is follow the prompts here, and he'll be guiding us through what is required. So he starts with asking if I'm ready. Yes, I'm ready to start. Yes, I'm ready. Okay, so let's find out what's my score. And again, this tool was built fully based on the official CRS calculator provided by IRCC. So you're going to get a very reliable score, okay? We kept everything very true to the official point system. So you're going to have a very, very reliable, very straightforward idea of where you stand, okay? So it starts with your name. My name is Jane, Cris. And he wants my email address, so that would be janev@visaplace.com. contact info, just so we can be sure to follow up with you if anything happens. Where do I live right now? That will be Canada, and you can please make sure to choose an accurate country so we know, where you are and how to go from there. Then my phone number would be, here we have it, 647-797-8754. And the next question is, okay, questions about your family. How old are you? Now, I'm not going to enter my own information. I'm just going to kind of use what would be considered to be a competitive profile on the Express Entry, just to illustrate to you guys, what type of profiles we're mostly looking at. Okay, let's imagine that you are somewhere between 29 to 20 to 29. Okay, and you're talking about a married couple. It's my partner coming to Canada with me or not. That's going to affect your score, because if you have a spouse and they're coming with you, then they also, you need to provide their credentials and their language reports as well. So let's say yes. Okay. Do you or your spouse or common law partner have a brother or sister living in Canada? So they need to be a Canadian citizen or a Canadian PR. So if you have siblings on study work visas, they have to immigrate first before you can get points for that. But if you don't, just say no, it's totally fine. It's not a mandatory requirement. Regarding education, here we have all available options in terms of starting from no high school or less than high school to a PhD, right? So you choose what's better suited for you. If you have high school, if you have a bachelor, if you have a master's degree, if you have a 2-year post-secondary program. So this would include, so in between bachelor and master would include everything, any graduation or post-grad diploma that is not a master's. So it could be a 1-year post-grad, 2 years diploma, certificate, or actually any other double degree that you have aside from a bachelor. So as long as your bachelor is 3+ years, any other degree would count, would grant you points, as long as it's more than 1 year. Let's assume it's a master's, and then same for your spouse. Now, have you studied in Canada? As I said, you do get more points if you have Canadian education, but it's not a mandatory requirement. So if you haven't, you can just say no, no study in Canada. Do you have a certificate of qualification? This certificate is not a professional certification, like a general certification, is rather a provincial. So it's something that's granted by a province in Canada, and is mostly related to trades, occupations. So this could include electricians, mechanics, and other trade professionals that are licensed, like welders. They also have provincial licenses, and why not? So this would be applicable mostly if you were already in Canada and likely working, right? Does not apply to everyone. Let's say no to this then. Now, let's talk a little bit about language ability, right? So which language do you speak? We know that the 2 official languages for Canada are English and French. If you speak both, if you're bilingual, wonderful. You get a lot more points for that. So that is really good, really, really good. Or bilingual friends, make sure to take advantage of that, because it's really a big deal. But if you only speak one or the other, not a problem either. Let's go with English. And here you have to kind of choose where your language ability stands. So it goes from A+, which would imply a CLB 10, which is more or less, I would say even like not even 8+, even 7.5 plus in certain abilities would give you a A+. Okay, so if you took the IELTS exam or the CELPIP exam and you get plus, on CELPIP we're looking at 9+, but IELTS, 7.5 plus, it's already a pretty good score. In terms of eligibility, all you need is a 6. So even if you don't have a 7 or 8 on IELTS, but you have a 6, that means you are eligible. So for some people, that is enough. You don't need to have super high language marks, especially if you are already in Canada, right? But let's assume that is a CLB. Again, here we have 7, but if it's 7.5, you already can jump to A+. So let's go to A+. And if you don't speak French, then just go to non-applicable here. And then now questions about the spouse, right? What's the language ability of your spouse in terms of the table? And here, let's give it an A, please. Now, same for the spouse. If the spouse speaks French, you get points as well, but let's assume it doesn't. Okay, now that we covered language, let's go to the next factor, which is work experience. And here we have a link where you can learn more about how to identify what's the right NOC for your occupation. I'm gonna make a pause here just to comment that identifying the right NOC, it can be a pretty complex job and it has to be done very carefully, right? Like you're immigrating as a skilled worker, so your work experience is the basis of your application. And I say that because oftentimes issues with NOC are not uncommon, right? So if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not familiar with the NOC matrix table, if you're not sure which NOC you stand for, if the NOC description it's not, doesn't match very well your job description as per your employment reference letter, those are things that would be very, very important to look at carefully. And so if you're not familiar with the NOC, you can kind of have an idea of the major category you fall under. But in terms of identifying, okay, what's my NOC code? Usually help from a professional can be very, very helpful here, just to ensure that everything is done properly. You don't want to, make sometimes a small mistake here can snowball and cause a lot of delays and problems on your process, even leading to refusals, right? One of the most common reasons for refusals is individuals who perhaps don't know how to really understand the NOC and how to present the information properly. So just keep in mind, very important. But briefly explaining here, we have three major categories: NOC 0, A, or B. So type A, um, type level A, and B. So A would include all the management positions, so managerial jobs. So if you worked as a manager, regardless of the industry, you likely will fall under type 0. If you are a professional, so the easiest, the simplest way, and I'm simplifying, the simplest way to understand what's a professional job is what kind of education requirements this position entails, right? So in order for you to be let's say, a dentist, you might need to have to go to dentist school and have that professional credential. Most professional jobs would imply some degree of formal education in terms of post-secondary schooling. It's not always the case. Sometimes if you're IT professional and you might be able to do amazing things on the IT field, and you might not require a degree on software engineering, right? As an example of how education is not the only thing to be looking at here. That's why I say it's oftentimes a good idea to have a professional. In any case, professional jobs will be that, and then we have type B, which would be technical jobs and skilled trades. So again, plumbers, electricians, welders, butchers, chefs would fall under NOC B as well, most of the time. Okay. And once you identify which major category you fall under, then we're good to go. As long as you're it doesn't really matter if it's management or professional or skilled trades, your points are not going to change based on that, as long as it's one of those three. Okay. Okay, that being said, how many years of work experience do you have outside Canada, right? So this could be anywhere in the US, in India, whatever you leave, work experience would be valid. So let's say 3 or more years. Now, next question. How many years of work experience do you have inside Canada? So for those who are in Canada on temporary visas, this would be relevant, right? So if you're able to work in Canada, if you are in Canada right now working and you have Canadian work experience, that would be very impactful on your CRS as well. So let's say 1 year of work experience in Canada. And then the spouse. Let's say my spouse has 1 year as well. We came together. Okay, now, do you have a PNP nomination? So a PNP stands for Provincial Nomination Program, right? This is basically when the provinces go into the pool of candidates, or you apply paper-based directly to the province and you get nominated. This is basically an endorsement that the province is doing on your behalf to support your process, right? For those who are perhaps looking to relocate or to settle on a particular province, they can use the provincial nomination as a way to really expedite and facilitate their process. It's not a requirement. A lot of times people are able to immigrate through express entry without PNP, like many times they're able to immigrate without PNP. For those who are perhaps, not as competitive as they need to be on express entry through the federal programs, provincial nominations can be a great way to overcome that shortage of points, right? Because with the provincial nomination, you get 600 points under express entry, right? So that's a guarantee of invitation. If you have a provincial nomination, provincial endorsement, it's a guarantee of invitation. Now, when it comes to provincial nominations, we have so many different programs, right? Each province would have from 5 to 6 different streams or categories of nomination. So it really depends on your work experience, your field of work. If you're a business person, there are business programs there out there as well. If you study in that particular province and all of that. So if you're curious about PNP, again, let us know. I'll try to give you more information on that. But as I said, it's not at all mandatory for express entry only candidates. Okay. So here we go. Let's say no. Okay. Do you have a valid job offer from a Canadian employer? Right. This would include LMIA based work permits and LMIA exempt work permits. Right. LMIAs are a whole different topic of discussion. LMIA stands for Labor Market Impact Assessment. It's basically a study that the employer needs to do before they can offer you a job in Canada. You don't need a job to immigrate. If you are competitive enough, you can do it without having a job, which is great. But if you are in Canada working on an employer-supported work permit, this can also gives you additional points under the system. So this is will depend on your situation. For our case here, let's just say yes for a knock A or B. Okay, now Chris is doing the heavy lifting for me here in terms of calculating the points. Oh, and he's done. So efficient. You can just click here and a new window will open with your CRS, and you get an email right away, which is amazing, right? You get an email with all the information you enter, a breakdown of your points. Here you can see how many points have been allocated to, what we call human or core factors and transferability factors, which is a bit of math that we do in terms of giving you additional points if you are if you have high bands on the language exam and higher education. Don't have to get too technical here, but just so you know more or less what it is. So for our simulation, the profile, the sample score that we got is 474, which is a pretty good score. Right, with 474, you're likely to get an invitation at any point in time. It's a pretty good. I don't think CRS has gone too much higher than this ever. So, for those who have similar profiles that what we've been looking at here, 100% good candidate. And the system is so smart that it would even show you, where most applicants stand, and there's a bit of a data pool analysis that it's done here in terms of where you are. Okay. Now here we have the latest score, but keep in mind that those candidates they were provincial nomination only, right? Remember that the provincial nomination would grant to 600 points. So with 600 points, of course, your CRS score is going to go to the sky. So ignore that if you're not in Canada. It's not relevant if you're not in touch with any provinces. But this is it, guys. I'm sure you can have a lot of fun and a much better understanding of where you stand in terms of the point system after playing around with the tool. You can do this again for yourself and for your spouse if you want to know, who is more competitive, myself or my spouse, right? That's a very common question that I get all the time from clients. So with this tool, you can easily do that and do the self-assessment and see, okay, my spouse tends to be more competitive, or I am the most competitive of the two of us. And you can, share this with your friends, let them know what they stand. If you think someone it's interesting, or if you know anyone, make sure to share. It's of course free of charge. You can use on the internet, on your phone, computer, very accessible. And as we saw, very intuitive, right? If you have questions, you can always ask Chris. And most importantly, after you do the self-assessment, if you want to know how to get started, right? Like, I know my score is like 470, 450, 460, 430, 440. And you want to know how to get started, then the next step would be to book a consultation with one of our consultants. Once you speak with the consultant, we'll be able to let you know, how to get started. We'll sign you up. You become a client. Once you become a client, then you can rely on over 25 years of experience, as a law firm here in the city of Toronto. So we work with very competent, very experienced lawyers in general. Our team is more than qualified and ready to assist you with your needs. It does not matter how challenging your case is or what type of situations you're facing. We should be able to provide guidance on how to move forward to make your Canadian immigration dream come true. So, guys, this is what I have for today. I'm going to be looking at the questions right now. So, give me a quick second here. And I hope this was useful and helpful. Let's see what kind of questions do we have selected here. So, can you please tell me about the PNP process? Okay, so PNP is it's not a 30-second topic. It does take some time to understand how it works. We can have another live video about it if you guys are have many questions. In general, provincial nomination programs, they will depend on the province requirements. So there are somehow similar but different because each province has authority to define the program as it better fits its needs, right? So different provinces would have different demands in terms of labor, different demands in terms of immigration in general. So they have that discretion to select, to choose how they want to manage their nomination program, right? Basically, there's three ways you can overlap you can relate immigration with provincial nominations. The first one is when you create your express entry profile through the regular federal stream, and the provinces go into the pool of candidates and select you based on mostly on your work experience. So for those individuals with work experience on occupations that are highly in demand on Canadian provinces, this is a great reason for you to join the pool and just be available for them to see you. If candidates, then the provinces don't even have access to a profile, right? So they most likely will be sending out invitations for individuals based on their work experience and education, assuming that they believe that you would benefit, the province would benefit from having you, which is the case, right? So in order for you to be eligible for that, you need to have an express entry profile available, right? And then the provinces can send you the invite. Once they do that, and then you apply for the nomination. Once the nomination is approved, that process takes, just a couple of months. Once the nomination is approved, you go back to the pool with 600 points. Guarantee of immigration after that. That's one way. Another way you can use provincial nominations to immigrate is when you apply directly to the province paper-based application. So that's outside of express entry. Most likely, candidates under the paper-based stream would be already in Canada working on a particular province, and then there's outside of express entry programs that you can qualify for. Again, each province would have different program requirements here. And another way that you can overlap express entry with PNPs is when you already have a nomination that you apply directly to the province. So the province didn't see you in the pool, they rather received your invitation beforehand. And with that nomination, you can go to the pool of candidates and then get the 600 points as well. So that's another way PNPs and express entry can be related. Okay, I hope I've answered the question. And I am a pizza cook and I'm interested in moving to Canada. I'm interested in any low skill work. Am I eligible? It depends. I mean, if you have a job offer, if you have a relationship with a Canadian employer, someone who is interested and willing to support your paperwork, your application, that can very much work. In terms of how competitive you are, you didn't give me a lot of information here, right? Education, work, language ability. So all those things would play relevant factor here. Next question, what's the outlook for 2021? As I said, we have a multi-year plan actually. So the next 3 years are part of a multi-year plan that the Minister of Immigration had put in place last year, right? So we were, prior to everything that happened in 2020, we were expecting to welcome a significantly larger amount of immigrants for the next coming years. And so we do think that 2021 is going to be very promising that way because of the slowdown that we observed this year in terms of people coming abroad. So, we're already halfway through the year. If you're planning your relocation, your move to 2000 for next year, right now is the time to get it started, right? To those things that can take time. So it's always better to start earlier rather than later to make sure that you have everything placed. So I think 2021 is looking pretty promising. Um, the government website has approved international students that have been granted permits before March 18. How about everyone else? Can we go to Canada after the visa is approved? So we don't have official information on that yet. So we are expecting to hear back from the government shortly before the September intake. We know that September is a major, what was the biggest intake for Canadian institutions, and we welcome a lot of international students on a yearly basis. So this is a big deal. We know that a lot of students are like anxious and they want to know when they'll be able to enter. We are expecting to have update on that very shortly. Once we do, I'll be back here letting you guys know. So for now, we are staying still. There's no assumptions for study permit holders as of now, but we do expect to have a more precise um, guideline on that before the September intake actually starts. Okay, so we're now in June, still have some time, several months, a couple of months. So a lot can happen in the meantime. So keep that on hold. Um, After paying the consultation amount for the consultation, what will come next? So after that would depend on how the consultation goes, right? That's the whole point of having a consultation. So once we have the chance to speak with you and understand your case, then we're going to let you know what comes next and how to move forward. Usually, the regular, the most common, next step is to sign an engagement letter. So that's a contract between our firm and yourself, a representation contract, and get started with your paperwork. That will be hopefully the likely outcome on your case. That's what happened with most of our clients, right? We identify what kind of service they need first, and then we go from there. And again, our goal as consultants is really to understand your profile and advise you on the best strategy to follow through in order to get to the end goal. Sometimes people get overwhelmed because they're like, oh, my points are not high enough for this and this reason, and immigration is not going to happen for me. That's incorrect. There's several strategies that you can deploy in order to get to the amount of points that you need to be competitive under the CRS, right? Another thing that I would mention here is that there's lots of information online. You might have friends, you might have spoken with people about this, but it's very important to do a personalized assessment because oftentimes the smallest details can make a big difference on someone's profile. So just because an individual or someone went through this process doesn't mean that's the best course of action for you. So depending on the type of work you do, your education background, your family profile, if you're single, if you're married, if you have children, those are relevant factors for us to identify what's the best course of action for your particular case. Okay. um, can you represent a client from Delhi? Yes, 100%. Most of our clients are not in Canada. So, yes, it does not matter where you are. We have a lot of clients in East Asia in general, so all over Europe, a lot of American citizens, US citizens. So, don't worry about location. We are Canadian immigration lawyers, and we're here to assist with all things immigration. So, regardless of your nationality, Canada does not discriminate against nationality, which is something that other countries could do. In Canada, there's no such a thing. So all that we are pending are those factors that we talked about: education, age, work experience, and language ability. So yes, does not matter where you are. These applications are on hold due to the virus. When is it reopening? You know, not everything is on hold. A lot of processes are still ongoing. So, if you're qualified for work permit, study permit applications are still being received for September and for January next year intake. So, no applications are on hold in terms of your ability to apply for them. So don't worry about that. You should be getting your visa submitted as soon as possible because there is backlog being built. And no, there's nothing hold for family applications. We are able to submit, and we have gotten applications approved as well. So Immigration Canada is still very much working. We just have special measures in place in terms of how the work is done, but everything is still very much working. Any idea of if and how Canada would cope for people who are in the process but stuck in Canada without a job due to COVID-19. This is a more specific question. It depends on the type of work and the type of permit that you do, the type of permit that you hold. If you are in Canada and you need to extend your stay, make sure to do that. Don't overstay just because the pandemic and the lockdown. You have to still comply with your visa requirements. So for those who are on study, work, or visitor visas, you do need to maintain your temporary status at all costs. That's going to be very important. If you go out of status, if you overstay, that can have complications for your immigration process. So don't do that. Make sure to, even if you're stuck in a way, great place to be stuck, by the way, right? Canada. Um, just make sure that you're compliant, that your visa remains valid, and then we can go from there in terms of establishing your actual PR. Okay. Um, how about owner operator LMIA? Can you explain it in brief, please? Wow, good, very good question. So owner operator LMIAs are a complex topic as well, but I'll try to briefly go over that. Um, On-operator LMIA, it's basically when it's suited for candidates who have management experience. That could be by running their own business or holding management positions within corporations, and those individuals are able to, in a way, offer themselves a job, right? Because an LMIA is usually required when a Canadian employer is looking to hire a foreign national, right? LMIA stands for Labor Market Impact Assessment. So that's a study that the employer needs to do before they can offer you a job if you're not a Canadian citizen or a Canadian PR. The owner operator program is a great way for those who are eligible to come into Canada and create themselves a job. So if you're self-employed, if you've been running a business, if you're a business owner outside Canada, if you have that management experience and you think that I'm not looking to get a job in Canada, I'm looking to start a business in Canada, or I'm looking to run my own business in Canada, the owner operator can be a very good option there. Okay, so management experience is required. Of course, you need to be able to prove that you can, not ensure that your business would succeed, but that you have the know-how on how to run that business. That's why experience is so important, and you need to be able to prove that you have the capital necessary to run the business. Okay, so in terms of proof of funds, it would depend. It would depend on the type of business that you run. If you want to know more about it, if you want to share with us more about the type of business that you intend to run or that you're already running, book a consultation. We talk about more about that. Owner operator LMIAs are very popular. We do a lot of corporate immigration in general. So for those who are business owners or managers in general, and you think this can be suited for you, come talk to us. Okay. Hope I've answered your question in terms of what the program is. And it's not really a program; it's rather a work permit that is granted for candidates that are either looking to start a new business in Canada or to buy a business that's already up and running. Right. So if you don't want to start a business from scratch, you can buy a business that's already up and running in Canada, and you can be the owner operator of that business. The beauty about the owner operator LMIA is that you usually get 50 points for express entry for job offer. But if you're an owner operator, you get 200 points. Right. That's a lot of points. And for most people, that's the deal breaker in terms of them making through the threshold for the CRS. Okay, so for all business owners out there, this can be a great opportunity for you. Okay, how Alberta is working. I have 420 plus score in the poll and invite people to score less than 300. Still didn't get any chance. So as I said earlier, most of provincial nomination programs, they are driven by work experience, right? So Alberta probably has a nomination, not probably, they do have a list of in-demand occupations, and the province oftentimes select candidates based on those occupations that are in demand. So it could be, and again, this is speculation, I don't have enough info here, but it could be because your occupation is not really part of the in-demand list, right? So take a look at that, double check that, and see if that's likely the case. Okay, guys, this is the last question for today. One quick question that showed up here. Is there any program to move directly into Canada without express entry? Provincial nomination programs, right? There are other programs as well. there's a few other programs actually, but since we talked about PNPs, certain provincial nomination programs would allow you to come straight up. We have the caregiver program, we have the agri-food pilot program, we have the Atlantic programs as well. All those programs, they would lead to permanent residency, and they are outside of express entry. Okay, so yeah, there are other options, many other options, but it will depend on your profile. So if you don't think express entry is good for you and you want to know what else is out there, book a consultation, and we're going to look at your qualifications and your profile and let you know what will be the best course of action. Okay. Um, Guys, so this is it for today. I hope I didn't go over time too much. It has been a pleasure seeing you guys all, and thank you for all the good questions. The questions are very, very on point, very good. And I look forward to hearing your feedback. Do let me know if if you want to get in more detail about any other topics that I talked about. And hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. And have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.